This is BBC World News Today, broadcasting in the UK and around the world. I'm Regid Ahmed. The headlines. Russian track and field athletes are banned from the Rio Olympics. The governing body of world athletics, the IAAF, upholds their suspension over allegations of systematic doping.
The IAAF Council was unanimous that RUSAF had not met the reinstatement conditions and that Russian athletes could not credibly return to international competition.
British police investigating the murder of MP Joe Cox say alleged links to right-wing extremism are a key line of inquiry. A 94-year-old former Auschwitz guard is convicted in Germany of being an accessory to the murder of 170,000 people. And coming up, players stopped during the Euro 2016 match between Croatia and Czech Republic as flares are thrown onto the pitch. Hello and welcome. Russian track and field athletes won't be able to compete at this summer's Olympics after the International Athletics Federation said it will maintain its ban following widespread doping allegations. The ban was imposed in November after the World Anti-Doping Agency found evidence of what it described as state-sponsored cheating. But some individual Russian competitors may still be able to take part in Rio, although not under their national flag. Here's our sports correspondent, Richard Conway. Vigils have been held across Britain for the MP Joe Cox, who was killed on Thursday. In London, colleagues, friends and well-wishers gathered in Westminster to observe a 2-minute silence. It was also announced that the British Parliament would be recalled on Monday for members to pay tribute to the former MP. The newly elected Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has also paid tribute to his former colleague. Well, earlier, British Prime Minister David Cameron and the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn visited the West Yorkshire village of Birstall to pay their respects to Joe Cox. They laid flowers at a monument close to the scene of the attack. Our special correspondent Ed Thomas reports. A 94-year-old former Auschwitz guard has been convicted of being an accessory to the murder of 170,000 people. Reinhold Hanning was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in facilitating the slaughter at the Auschwitz death camp. Jenny Hill reports from the city of Detmold, where the trial took place. Well, stay with us on BBC World News. Still to come. UEFA opens up disciplinary proceedings after the Euro 2016 match between Croatia and Czech Republic is suspended due to flares being thrown onto the pitch. This is BBC World News Today. I'm Regid Ahmed. The latest headlines. The International Athletics Federation has decided in a unanimous vote to extend the ban imposed on Russia's athletes amid a doping scandal. British police investigating the murder of MP Joe Cox say alleged links to right-wing extremism are a key line of inquiry. Well, let's go to Paris, where Auré is for all the sport.
Thank you, Regid. We'll start with that news you mentioned a little earlier. Another outbreak of fan violence here in France, this time in the match between the Czech Republic and Croatia. Flares were thrown onto the pitch, with one hitting a steward during their 2-2 draw this evening. UEFA Sport for now. It is back to you.
Thanks very much, Auré. Let's return now to our top story, the decision to ban Russia's track and field athletes from the Rio Olympics following doping allegations. I asked Olga Ivshina of our Russian service what sort of reaction there'd been in Russia.
Officials are reacting, of course, and sportsmen are reacting, and of course they all say that they're extremely dissatisfied with this reaction, and Russian Sports Minister Vitaly Mutko has already said that they're going to take this case into court. And he hasn't specified which court yet. And also some Russian sportsmen, so to say clean sportsmen, they also say that they're going to appeal this decision. And for example, 2 times Olympic champion Yelena Isinbayeva, who this is her 5th Olympic Games, might might be her 5th Olympic Games, and she's 2 times Olympic champion. She has never been caught, and she claims that her dreams has been stolen, and yeah, she's going to appeal, and she still hopes, she begs to let her participate in these games.
Presumably it's hoped that this sort of ban is going to encourage Russia to change its ways. Do you think that's going to be the reaction now within the country, within the culture in sport?
It's hard to say, I mean, Russian state media and some Russian officials, they have been extremely defensive towards their sports structures, towards their sportsmen. For example, they still claim that there is no direct evidence of Russian officials supporting or promoting doping. They just say that this all is based, on words of some athletes or some officials who fled Russia. So they basically picture this as an anti-Russian conspiracy, as just a political thing which happened. That's why I think it's unlikely. There has been a huge job done, but I don't know whether they are ready to implement further changes.
Olga Ivshina there from the BBC's Russian service. Iraqi security forces say they've entered the city of Fallujah, recapturing the main government buildings from the so-called Islamic State. Fallujah, located 50 kilometres west of the capital Baghdad, remains one of the last Islamic State strongholds in the country. More than 30,000 civilians have already fled the city, but tens of thousands are still believed to be trapped inside as the fighting intensifies. Well, this time tomorrow, Tim Peake will have landed back on Earth in Kazakhstan. During his 6 months on board the International Space Station, he conducted more than 250 experiments, carried out a spacewalk and ran a marathon. But as our science editor David Shukman reports, his final challenge is to return home to Earth safely.
BBC News in Kazakhstan.
Well, that's all from the programme. From me, Regid Ahmed, and the rest of the team, goodbye.